Shalom, brothers and sisters in the HIM family. I'm Cheng Lip, originally from JB, Malaysia, but currently serving in Hope, Tokyo, together with my wife, Mei Ling, and two daughters, Joelle and Jane. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for this opportunity to share my testimony about how God opened the door for my family and I to be in Tokyo. Prior to coming to Tokyo in 2013, I had been serving in Hope JB for 16 years. I cannot remember exactly when Pastor Kwong Lee started visiting Hope Tokyo, but once or twice annually to teach, to preach, to encourage the brothers and sisters here. But every time Pastor Kwong Lee returned to JB, he would share about the testimonies of the brothers and sisters in Hope Tokyo. He would share about his experiences and also about Japan in general. But for me, it was around in the year 2010 when during a weekly prayer meeting, Pastor Kwong Lee asked the church to pray for different churches or centers that Hope JB was overseeing. For some reason, he assigned my young family unit to pray for Japan and for Hope Tokyo. Now, looking back, it was kind of funny because at that time, as far as I knew, there was no one in my unit who had shown any particular interest in anything Japanese, whether it was cosplay or sushi or culture or technology. So our connection with Japan didn't really start with a burden in our hearts. But there I was saying, hey, Pastor Kwong Lee has just assigned our unit to pray for Hope Tokyo and Japan, so let's do it. But then the next question was, alright, what should we pray for? So pray we did. The whole thing was born out of obedience and availability rather than a specific burden or revelation. So it so happened at that time, there were 8 brothers and sisters from Hope JB working together in the same company, which also included Mei Ling and myself. So every Monday, we would gather together in one of the company's meeting rooms, and we would pray. We would share about what we learned on the previous day's Sunday sermon, and one of the last items would be to pray, and we pray for Japan. I thought that, well, since my young family unit have been assigned to pray for Japan, why not extend that to the brothers and sisters in my company who were working together with me? So we prayed obediently, faithfully, but perhaps sometimes cluelessly and without expecting much from God. Sometime in 2012, one day after work, Mei Ling and I went home, and I found a newspaper cutting on my table. It was an advertisement for application to a Japanese government-sponsored scholarship. Apparently, my father had cut it out of a Chinese newspaper that he had purchased that day. Now, just as a background information, my family does not, or still does not subscribe to the Chinese newspaper on a daily basis. So my parents would just buy one whenever they felt like it, and they happened to buy one that day. I never told my father of my desire to come to Japan for any reason because I never had one. And studying Japan, well, my wife and I were doing reasonably well in our jobs at that time. And our daughter, Joelle, was just 2 years old. So studying did not seem to be a very workable option. But for some crazy reason, I actually started asking God, are you trying to hint me about going to Japan? And then at that point in my life, I probably made the most dangerous prayer ever. Of course, without realizing how dangerous it was at that time. I told God, okay, if I go ahead and apply for the scholarship and I am awarded the scholarship, I will know it's will for me to go to Japan, and I will go. Well, you know how that turned out. So to cut the long story short, I was one of the 23 people who were awarded the Japanese government scholarship in that year. The miracles that happened along the way included most likely being the oldest master's degree candidate to have received a scholarship. I was I was exactly 1 month and 11 days within the age limit. My research proposal was 1 page long, actually 75% of an A4 size paper with double spacing, which just goes to show how clueless I was. Not because I did not put in any effort, but because I was really clueless. I attended the final stage interview at the Japanese embassy, expecting to be questioned intensely why I deserved to be given the scholarship, and the interview strangely ended up with the interviewers discussing more among themselves than I did, and then finally telling me that I needed to go to Japan and study hard and contribute to Malaysia's development one day. So when you take all this into consideration, if that isn't God's hand, I have no other explanation. Now, I might not have walked on water like Peter, but the process of going through that really felt like God was inviting me on a journey of faith with Him. And if you remember, I mentioned that there were 8 of us working together in the same company. Well, in spite of our lack of affinity for Japan, obedient but definitely not earth-shaking prayers at times, God, in His goodness, in His humor, brought 4 of us to Japan actually, and we're still here today. To quote Pastor Bill Johnson's statement, God's goodness is beyond our ability to comprehend, but not beyond our ability to experience. Understanding is vital, but it often comes through experiencing God. And faith for the journey of walking with God leads to encounters with God, and that results in growing knowledge and understanding of God. So God invited my family and I on this journey, which we are still traveling on right now. And there's so much more of His goodness to experience in the days to come. So I hope that you will also take the journey that He's inviting you to take with Him. And I just want to give all the glory and honor to His name. Thank you.